Imagine walking OG into your local grocery store, reaching for your usual staples, flour, rice, cooking oil, only to find empty shelves staring back at you. Prices haven't just gone up, they've skyrocketed overnight. You check another aisle, same story. And here's the real kicker. No one is talking about why. But today we're breaking the silence. At Preppers Community, we uncover what mainstream media won't tell you. In this video, we're exposing 8 critical foods that are disappearing faster than most people realize. And when we reach food number 1, isn't some distant crisis, it's already happening. That's why you need to watch until the end, because the foods we're about to reveal could be completely wiped out sooner than you think. But before we dive in, take a second to hit the like button. It helps more people see this urgent warning. And if you're serious about staying prepared, subscribe to Preppers Community and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates. Now let's get started, because time is running out. Food number 8, imported spices, the silent shortage. No one notices. Have you ever taken a bite of your favorite meal and thought, something doesn't taste right? It's not just you. The spices that give food its rich, deep flavors are quietly disappearing, and almost no one is talking about it. For centuries, spices have been traded across continents. But now that global supply chain is breaking down. India, Sri Lanka, and Madagascar, 3 of the world's top spice producers, are being hammered by extreme weather. Droughts, erratic monsoons, and rising temperatures are slashing harvests, leaving farmers with barely enough to meet local demand. Governments are stepping in, restricting exports to keep supplies within their own borders. That means fewer shipments, higher costs, and less availability worldwide. But here's what's even worse. Counterfeit spices are flooding the market. Some manufacturers are stretching their supply by mixing in sawdust, artificial dyes, and even chemical fillers. They're passing off low-quality, diluted spices as the real thing, and most consumers don't even realize it. Restaurants are already adjusting their recipes. They're swapping out high-quality ingredients for weaker, less potent alternatives. They're not telling customers, but many people have already noticed the difference. Meanwhile, prices are surging. Nutmeg, cardamom, and black pepper have already doubled in price. And if this trend continues, we could see many exotic spices disappear entirely from store shelves. Stock up on whole spices now. When properly stored, they last for years and retain their full potency. Pre-ground spices lose flavor quickly, but whole spices can be ground fresh when you need them. Because once these spices vanish, they may not return for a very long time. Food number 7, coffee. The crisis brewing. Right under your nose. If you need coffee to start your day, you might be in for a rude awakening, because the world's coffee supply is collapsing right before our eyes. The rich aroma, the bold taste, the morning ritual, millions rely on coffee every single day. But what happens when those beans stop making it to store shelves? The global coffee industry is on the brink of disaster, and yet, almost no one is talking about it. The problem starts where coffee is grown. Brazil, Ethiopia, and Colombia, 3 of the largest coffee-producing nations, are facing extreme weather shifts. Droughts, unexpected frosts, and heavy rains are wiping out entire crops, leading to massive losses. But it's not just the weather. Pests like the coffee berry borer are destroying plants faster than farmers can react. These tiny insects burrow into coffee cherries, ruining harvests before they even reach the drying stage. Meanwhile, big corporations are hoarding massive amounts of premium coffee beans. They're securing future supplies for themselves, while smaller buyers, including independent roasters and local cafes, are being left with whatever is left over. This has already sent prices soaring. In just months, coffee prices have spiked by over 35% with no signs of stabilizing. But here's the real danger. Many major brands aren't absorbing these costs. Instead, they're cutting corners. They're secretly blending lower-grade beans into their products, watering down the quality without saying a word. Most consumers haven't even noticed yet. If this trend continues, good coffee will become a luxury item, and the affordable, high-quality brews many people enjoy today may soon be a thing of the past. If you want to avoid the coming shortage, buy whole beans now. Properly stored, coffee can last for years without losing flavor. Because once the best beans are gone, you might never taste coffee the same way again. Food number 6. Canned vegetables. The disappearing emergency. Food. Canned vegetables have always been a prepper's go-to survival food. Long shelf life, easy storage, and a reliable backup when fresh produce runs out. But what if I told you that even this emergency staple is disappearing? The warning signs are already here, and they're growing worse by the day. The first issue? The skyrocketing cost of metal. The aluminum and tin used to produce cans have become significantly more expensive, and manufacturers are quietly cutting production to offset their losses. At the same time, droughts and floods are devastating crops. Corn, peas, green beans, some of the most common canned vegetables, are seeing historic declines in yield. Many farmers simply don't have enough product to sell. But even when the crops do make it to processing plants, labor shortages are causing massive delays. Factories that once ran at full speed are operating with skeleton crews, leading to shipment backlogs and inconsistent deliveries. Some grocery stores are already taking action. Purchase limits are being quietly enforced, restricting how many cans each customer can buy. And for those who depend on food banks, the situation is even worse. Shelves that were once fully stocked are now nearly empty. Supply donations are dropping fast, while demand continues to rise. That means one thing: you need to act now. Stock up on canned vegetables while they're still available. If you want a long-term solution, consider learning how to dehydrate or freeze-dry your own produce. Because once these supplies vanish, there's no telling when they'll return. Food number 5. Rice. The global shortage that no one sees coming. Rice is a staple food for billions of people around the world. It's affordable, versatile, and has been a dietary foundation for centuries. But what happens when the supply starts running dry? This isn't some distant problem. It's happening right now. The first major issue? Unpredictable monsoons and widespread droughts are hammering the world's top rice-producing countries. In India, Vietnam, and Thailand, excessive rainfall has drowned crops in some regions, while others are experiencing severe drought, leading to massive crop failures. And as supplies shrink, governments are taking drastic action. India and Vietnam, two of the world's biggest rice exporters, are restricting shipments, keeping their rice at home to protect local food security. That means less rice available for international buyers and rising prices across the globe. Even when rice is successfully harvested and prepared for export, there's another problem: global shipping chaos. Containers filled with rice are getting stuck in ports, held up by logistical bottlenecks and shipping delays. Supermarkets are already responding. Some stores have started quietly limiting how many bags of rice each customer can buy. And the price? It's already skyrocketing. In some regions, the cost of rice has jumped nearly 80%, and it's not showing any signs of slowing down. If rice is part of your daily diet, you need to act now. Properly stored, rice can last for years, making it one of the best foods to stockpile before shortages worsen. Because if this trend continues, a simple bag of rice could soon cost more than you ever imagined. Food number 4. Meat. The hidden protein crisis. Meat has always been a cornerstone of nutrition, providing protein, essential nutrients, and a key source of calories for millions. But what if I told you that the days of affordable, high-quality meat are coming to an end? Right now, meat prices are soaring. But what's happening behind the scenes is even worse. One of the biggest issues? The skyrocketing cost of livestock feed. Corn and soy, the primary feed for cattle, pigs, and poultry, have become so expensive that ranchers can no longer afford to sustain their herds. Many farmers are being forced to slaughter their livestock early, leading to a temporary boost in meat supply, but a long-term crisis. At the same time, global disease outbreaks are devastating meat production. Bird flu outbreaks have led to the mass culling of millions of chickens and turkeys worldwide. African swine fever has wiped out entire pig populations in several countries. This means fewer animals, less meat, and higher prices. But there's something even more concerning happening right now. Food companies are making quiet substitutions, and most people don't even realize it. Fast food chains and grocery stores are already swapping real meat for lower-quality processed alternatives. They're shrinking portion sizes, changing cuts, and blending in cheaper fillers. They're doing whatever they can to mask the shortage without alerting customers. And grocery stores? They're not just raising prices. They're reducing variety, cutting back on certain meat selections, and offering smaller packages at higher costs. If you wait too long, you may not have many options left. Start stocking up now. Frozen, canned, and dehydrated meat can last for years when properly stored. Because if these trends continue, a simple steak could soon become a luxury few can afford. Food number 3. Dairy. The breakdown of milk and cheese supply. Milk, cheese, butter. Staples that most people take for granted. But what if I told you that these everyday essentials are on the verge of becoming luxury items? The dairy industry is in serious trouble, and the warning signs are everywhere. Dairy farms are shutting down at an alarming rate, and the reasons behind it are more concerning than most people realize. The first major issue? Extreme weather is devastating milk production. Severe droughts are drying up pastures, leaving farmers without enough feed for their cows. Unpredictable rain patterns are either flooding fields or causing dangerous dry spells, disrupting the entire dairy cycle. And when cows don't have the right conditions to graze, they produce less milk. But that's not the only problem. The rising cost of dairy production is crippling farmers. Dairy operations require massive amounts of electricity to power milking machines, refrigeration units, and processing plants. Energy prices have soared, making it harder for smaller farms to keep their businesses running. On top of that, fuel costs have drastically increased the price of transporting milk, and veterinary care for livestock has become more expensive than ever. The result? Dairy production is shrinking and prices are surging. Cheese, in particular, is seeing massive disruptions. Some specialty cheeses have already disappeared from store shelves, while basic varieties like cheddar and mozzarella are becoming noticeably more expensive. Milk itself? It's quickly turning into a premium product. Certain brands have already hiked prices multiple times this year, and industry experts warn this trend is far from over. And here's what they're not telling you. Many grocery stores are reducing the amount of dairy products they stock, while quietly raising prices. This isn't speculation. It's already happening. That's why you need to prepare now. If you rely on dairy, consider alternatives that last longer and store well. Powdered milk can last for years if stored properly. Shelf-stable cheese is a reliable backup option when fresh dairy is hard to find. Butter can be frozen and stored long-term, because if dairy farms keep shutting down at this rate, these emergency alternatives might be all we have left. Food number 2. Cooking oil. The essential ingredient. Running low. Imagine standing in your kitchen ready to cook a meal, only to realize there's no cooking oil left. No olive oil, no vegetable oil, no butter substitutes, nothing. For decades, cooking oil has been an affordable and abundant kitchen essential. But what if I told you that this critical ingredient is running out faster than anyone expected? Right now, cooking oil shortages are already unfolding, and the problem is growing worse by the day. One of the biggest culprits? The collapse of palm and soybean oil production. Palm oil, which is used in everything from frying to processed foods, is in severe decline. Governments have restricted palm plantation expansion due to environmental concerns, while unpredictable flooding in Malaysia and Indonesia has wiped out harvests. At the same time, soybean oil production is taking a massive hit. Farmers in Brazil and Argentina, two of the world's largest soybean producers, are struggling with extreme droughts. Crops are withering before they can even mature, leading to one of the worst harvests in years. And then there's sunflower oil, the third major cooking oil source. The war in Ukraine has completely crippled the global sunflower oil supply. Ukraine and Russia account for over 70% of the world's sunflower oil exports. But supply chains have collapsed, with shipments blocked at ports, and farmers unable to plant crops in war-torn regions. The result? Grocery stores are already placing limits on how much cooking oil customers can buy. And for those who do manage to get their hands on a bottle, they're paying more than ever before. But here's where things get even worse. Many brands aren't just raising prices, they're cutting quality. Some manufacturers are diluting cooking oils with lower-grade substitutes, selling consumers weaker, lower-quality blends without any disclosure on the label. If you don't believe it, just check the ingredient lists. Many products that once contained 100% pure oil are now blends with cheaper, less stable alternatives. So what can you do? Start stocking up on high-quality, long-lasting alternatives now. Olive oil, coconut oil, and ghee have much longer shelf lives than traditional vegetable oils. Properly stored, these oils can last for years without going rancid. Because if the supply chain doesn't stabilize soon, cooking oil could become one of the most expensive and hardest to find essentials in your kitchen. Food number 1. Wheat flour, the crisis that could shut down bakeries. Imagine waking up one morning, heading to the store for a bag of flour, only to find the shelves completely empty. No wheat flour, no all-purpose flour, no bread flour. That means no bread, no pasta, no baked goods. For centuries, wheat has been the backbone of civilization, a staple food in nearly every culture. But today, the global wheat supply is under attack from every angle. The first major threat: extreme droughts are decimating wheat harvests worldwide. In North America, persistent drought in the U.S. Midwest and Canadian prairies has drastically reduced crop yields. In Eastern Europe, conflict-related disruptions have crippled wheat exports. Ukraine and Russia, two of the largest wheat exporters in the world, are facing ongoing trade restrictions, blockades, and supply chain failures. Meanwhile, in Australia, unpredictable rains are flooding wheat fields, destroying what should have been a promising harvest. But the problem doesn't stop there. Even when wheat is successfully harvested, getting it processed into flour is becoming a nightmare. Milling operations are slowing down across multiple regions. Labor shortages are forcing flour mills to reduce their production capacity. That means less flour being processed and fewer shipments reaching stores. And if you think corporate greed isn't making things worse, think again. Big corporations are stockpiling wheat futures, locking in massive reserves for themselves while leaving smaller buyers struggling to secure supply. What does that mean for the average consumer? Limited availability, higher prices, and unpredictable shortages. If you bake your own bread, make your own pasta, or rely on wheat-based foods in any way, now is the time to act. Start looking for alternatives that can replace wheat flour when shortages hit. Spelt, rye, and rice flour are all viable substitutes, and they store well for long-term use. The shelves are already emptying, and prices are climbing every month. If you wait too long, you might regret it later. Stock up while you still can, because once wheat flour disappears, there's no telling when it will return. Final thoughts. What this means for you. The warning signs are everywhere. Empty shelves, rising prices, and shrinking supply chains. Every single food on this list is already disappearing, yet most people aren't paying attention. But here's the harsh truth. By the time the average person realizes what's happening, it will be too late. Governments will downplay the shortages to avoid panic. Corporations will quietly change ingredients, shrink packaging, and raise prices without warning. And when a real crisis hits, there won't be enough to go around. That's why the time to act is now. Start stocking up on essential foods before supply chains collapse even further. Learn how to store and preserve food for long-term security. Explore alternative ingredients to keep your family prepared for any shortage. And most importantly, stay informed. This isn't just about short-term shortages. This is about long-term food security. If you found this information valuable, hit the like button so more people can see this warning. And if you want to stay ahead of the next crisis, subscribe to Preppers Community and turn on notifications. Because when the food is gone, it's already too late.